for a long time, I really did not like my mother. Like, I really didn't want to be around her. She had a really bad temper, so it was just like straight to, I hate you, I should have aborted you, I wish I never had you. My mom said, well, if you don't want to take care of her, send her to foster care. With the straightest face, like with the straightest face. My auntie getting custody of me was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. Nothing. So she stopped her life basically to take care of her teenage niece, and I don't think I could ever repay her for that. That's something that I'm super grateful for. I tell her this every chance I get, and I'm about to cry, so hold on. Hello girlies, welcome back to another video. Today we are doing a story time. It's my first ever story time, and I'm super excited. The story time that I am giving, it is kind of touchy, but this is something that I've been getting questions about for years, 10 years now. So I finally just want to answer all of your questions kind of in a story time at the same time, because the questions that you guys have asked have been like, you know, stuff I have to actually explain. So we're gonna explain it. Bear with me because I kind of suck at story times. That's why I've never done one. I did some bullet points in my phone so that I won't forget anything important. And yeah, so this story time is about my life. People ask me, am I adopted? People ask me, you know, what is the situation with my mom and my aunt? So I want to start from the beginning to give you guys a little backstory of my relationship with my mother and my relationship with my aunt. So, you know, growing up, my mom had me young. So growing up, we always lived with my grandma. It was me, my grandma, my aunt, my mom, and my uncle. Always lived together. I was always like the baby sister in a sense, because like my granny took care of all of us. You know, so in the house, starting young, it was always a lot of arguing because all the siblings in the house, and then the mom comes in. You know, I grew up kind of in a toxic environment for a child, but you know, families do the best they can. They're not hiding nothing from you. You know, it is what it is. I love my family to death. But yeah, it was kind of toxic, and I dealt with a lot of verbal abuse. You know, I grew up with thinking that my mother hated me because every time I would do something, regardless of if it was big or small, I would get cussed out. And she had a really bad temper, so it was just like straight to, I hate you, I should have aborted you, I wish I never had you, you know, calling me out of my name. All of those things will always be the first resort. And then like I would cry and she would be like, oh, like I'm sorry, and I'll just say, you know, it's okay, because I don't know why I said it. It was never okay. But for a long time, I really did not like my mother. Like, I really didn't want to be around her. I think it was more so because before I was born, my mom always, I guess my mom wanted all boys. Like, it was this whole thing for my baby shower. It was like boy themed, everything. Everybody got me boy clothes. She knew she was having a girl. And like everybody got her boy clothes. Everybody just did everything boy. Like, and then I came out a girl for real. And I think that just ruined her whole life, because I don't know, that's how it seemed to me. Like everything was just bad for me growing up. Like it was just really negative. And I just wasn't happy as a kid. Like I wasn't happy. I always felt like my mom doesn't love me. She always says she wish she would have aborted me. Would it be different if I was a boy? Like, would it be different? Like, what would make the difference? What would make her love me and wish, you know, she had me, wish that I was here? Like, what would make the difference for her? Honestly, I never knew, but that's something I always felt. But I mean, as I'm growing, I'm learning to just leave it as it is. You know, women have their issues. She was a young mom, so I try to give her the benefit of the doubt, and I love her. So it's like, you know, but like a lot of things growing up is stuff that you can't forgive or forget. I'm trying to forgive her. I'm trying to build a relationship with her. Still not what it should be, nowhere near. But on the days that we could talk calmly to each other, those are the days we talk. On the days that we can't, those are just the days that I choose to stay away from her. I wouldn't really say physical abuse, because it was just whoopings that I used to get all the time. But those were my fault, because I was smart mouth and I was just bad. I was like my mom's child, literally my mom's child. That's the perfect way to explain it. So, I would deal with a lot of verbal abuse growing up. You know, just saying things that shouldn't be said to a child. So I think that is what really started everything. Just the verbal abuse, the, you know, not really treating me like a daughter, treating me more like a sister or a niece or something, you know, getting called out of my name, a lot of different stuff. So I'm going to fast forward to the part that's most important. So let me see what's my first bullet point, because that was just letting you guys know what started it. And also, I just want to let you guys know, this is a disclaimer. A lot of the stuff I have mentally blocked in my head. So if I don't remember it exactly, please forgive me. I just mentally, when trauma happens, I try to push it as far in the back of my mind as possible. And I really just make myself forget things. So bear with me. I'm going to try to see what I can remember. I'm gonna try to give the best story I can. So we talked about the younger, you know, the verbal abuse. So it was all cool. I was my mom's only child for 10 years. So, you know, I was like, okay, I would get the love when I got the love, and then when I got the abuse, I would get the abuse. It was just like a on and off thing. And then I had a brother come into the world when I was 10 turning 11. And seeing the relationship with my mom and her son versus me and her made me feel away as a child, because I got treated certain ways that I didn't like, my family didn't like, you know. But my mom is the type of person you can't really tell her anything. So I will be verbal to her, like, you know, I feel like you treat him better than you treat me. I feel like, you know, whatever the case may be. And she also had a boyfriend at the time, and everyone was living with my granny still. The boyfriend, my mom had just had the baby, everything. So it was just like they would be in the room taking like family pictures, like just doing little stuff, like just taking pictures with the baby, and going out to dinner, doing like family things. And she would post it like spending time with my family or whatever the case may be, but I'm nowhere to be found, like nowhere to be found. So that's what started it. Like that would hurt my feelings a lot. I would talk to my grandma and my auntie about it a lot, like, and cry to them, like, why do my mama not treat me how she treat my brother? I was here first, I'm her daughter, like, you know, what's the problem? Like, I don't understand. So it was like always a rocky situation, and it got more rocky once she had my brother, because it was like, you know, all the time and attention was going to him. And it's like, okay, cool, he's a baby, like I'm not about to be jealous, but I'm still a kid. I'm 10 years old, 11 years old. So it's like, you already don't show me a lot of attention. So for me to see you showing him this much attention, and I'm in the same house and I'm getting nothing basically now, was just so crazy to me. But fast forward to the serious, real serious stuff. So she had my brother. So my grandma and my mom argue a lot because they're the same exact person. They're very strong-minded. They're very firm. They're very, this is what it is, this is what I'm saying. So they tend to clash a lot and bump heads a lot. So it was a big argument between my grandma and my mom. I think it was over her boyfriend. Like, her boyfriend walked in the house and didn't speak or something like that. And my grandma finds that rude. Like, you know, don't come in someone's house and not speak. So I guess she mentioned it to my mom, and my mom just blew up. Like, blew up. He don't gotta speak to you. He don't gotta say nothing to you. Da 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 da. My grandma starts arguing back. They're arguing, going head on, like literally arguing. So I'm sitting there. I always used to try to break up the fights. I don't really like confrontation, and I think that's why, because I grew up with so much arguing and fighting and cussing, and like literally when I say I grew up with it all with my family, grew up with it all. That's why outside of that, I don't want to deal with no confrontation. I don't want no yelling, no arguing, no nothing. Unless we're having like a healthy argument, like something that's like, okay, I'm just trying to get my point across, you trying to get your point across, our voices is getting higher, you know, stuff like that. But other than that, no confrontation, please, not around me. So they were arguing, and my grandma decides to kick my mom out. So she's like, you know, you gotta leave. I can't take the disrespect anymore. I can't take it. Like, I can't do it. You're gonna have to leave. So basically, when she says you have to leave, that means you, your kids, and your boyfriend. So I'm sitting there, so I'm like, okay, like, what do I do? Like, I don't know what to do. My mom goes in the room and proceeds to pack her boyfriend, my brother, and her stuff. So I'm like, okay, I'm just sitting there because I'm like, I don't know what to do. She didn't tell me to get out, but that's my mom, so I have to go with her. So she's like taking their stuff to the car, and I'm like, oh mom, like, what about me? Like, what am I supposed to do? And she's like, you know, you stay here. Like, you're gonna stay here. So my grandma, of course, she don't mind me staying with her, but it was just like we didn't discuss this, we didn't say this, you're just telling her something that I didn't even agree to. Basically, you're telling me I have to be responsible for her when all of my kids are grown. Everyone, you know, is doing their own thing. She finished raising her kids at that point, but my grandma always treated me like I was her daughter. So she didn't mind. But what really took a turn between me and my mom's relationship, and it's still not what it should be today, was when my grandmother said something to her about me staying. Basically what I just said, you know, she don't mind, but that's not something she agreed to. My mom said, well, if you don't want to take care of her, send her to foster care. With the straightest face, like, with the straightest face, you guys. Like, send her to foster care. I was standing there. She said, if you don't want to take care of her and her dad won't come get her, send her to foster care. My grandma calls my dad, tell him what happened. At this time, my dad has a 1-bedroom. It's him, his girlfriend. No, he didn't have my little brother yet on his son. He didn't have his son yet, so it was just them two. But he was like, I got a 1-bedroom, you know, I don't know if she'll be comfortable or whatever the case may be. I don't know really what that conversation was, but basically I stayed with my grandma. So my mom picked up and moved to Vegas because that's where her boyfriend was from. So they moved to a whole nother state, got a place out there and started living life. So probably like a year passed. I haven't spoke to my mom. Like, my mom was gone for, this happened in 2011, maybe 2012. I want to say my mom didn't come back to California until like 2017. So that whole 6 years, 5 to 6 years, I could count on my hands how many times I've seen and talked to my mom. My mom and my granny will talk all the time. Like I said, they have a toxic relationship, so they'll argue, like, and then come back together like nothing happened. So her and my grandma will always be on the phone, but she would never ask to like speak to me. She wouldn't send money for me. She wouldn't send for me to come with her, live with her, visit her, nothing. So it was this one time that I was like, okay, well, actually, it was this time we sat down, me, my grandma, my auntie, because we were the only ones living there. My grandma was like, you know, I can't really take care of Deja. I don't know if it was financial issues. I don't know if it was just that she was tired. I was growing into a teenager, busy, you know, all of this. Remind you, me and my auntie is 13 years apart. So we're not that far apart. She's not that grown in this situation. She's probably like 24, something like that. And this is in 2013 now. So I was living with my granny. My granny was taking care of me, you know, taking me to school, making sure I went to school, making sure I kept food in my mouth, a roof over my head. She was taking care of me like she was my mom at that point. We sat down. She had a talk with my auntie and me. She asked me, you know, what is it that you want to do? Like, what is it that you want to do? Because they couldn't take me to the doctor's office. They couldn't take me, they couldn't enroll me into new schools, nothing, because they didn't have paperwork on me. That was my mom's job. My mom's not here, so, you know, life got to keep going. So we had to get the proper paperwork so that they will be able to do those things for me. So I just decided, you know, me and my auntie, we always had a close relationship. I'm the first grandchild, first daughter, first niece of my immediate family. So I had a really close relationship with everyone in my family. Me and my auntie, we always been super close. I always like wanted to be like her. Like, I always copied her. I always would go in her room when she wasn't home and just be like wanting to be near whatever was hers. Like, I just love her. I always been attached to her, still to this day. So I was like, you know, I want to move with my auntie. My mom don't want me, and my dad can't take care of me apparently. So I want to live with my auntie. And from that moment, it was like a relief for me, just for the simple fact that I knew my auntie would take care of me the way I was supposed to be taken care of, with not even just financially, but the love, the attention, the care that goes into raising a child or teenager, I guess you could say. I just knew that she would do it correctly, although she was not that old. She doesn't have any kids of her own to this day. So that was the process. That was the start of the process for court. We went to court multiple times. We had so many court dates. We had a court date where, you know, my auntie went to go file for, I don't know if it was custody or simply just guardianship. We had to go for her to file the paper. Then I did a one-on-one with, I don't remember who I was talking to. I was so young. I don't remember. But I went to court. We had a one-on-one. They asked me, like, you know, you're of age. You have the right to say who you want to stay with, because my mom tried to fight her for it. Because once you file for custody of a child, they have to notify the parents. So my mom tried to fight it. But it was like, you're not taking care of me. You're not even here. So how are you trying to fight her getting custody of me so she could take care of me and actually do the things that I need done? So she was trying to fight it. And they was like, okay, well, it comes to, you have to make the choice, Deja. Like, where do you want to stay? So I decided, I told them, you know, I want to stay with my aunt. They was like, okay, how's everything with her? Do you feel safe with her? You know, asking me all the, I guess, protocol questions. So we did that, and then we had a final court date where my parents had to show up, basically giving approval, and we figuring out, like, we hearing the final decision of if I'm staying with my auntie, if she get guardianship, or, you know, what the case may be. My mom did not show up to the court date. My dad did, though. My dad showed up, and we had a talk, and he was like, you know, I won't be mad if you want to live with your auntie. You know, I'm not going anywhere as your father. Like, I'm still here for you. You can come to my house. You could do, you know, whatever the case may be. So my dad was very supportive during the whole thing because he understood where we were coming from and why we were doing what we were doing. So he was there to support. They asked him if he had anything to say, if he wanted to go against it. And he was just like, no, like, you know, whatever makes my daughter happy, basically. My mom did not show up to the court date. And from that point, once they granted my auntie guardianship over me, because I'm not adopted, to answer the question, I am not adopted. I am a ward of the state, or I was a ward of the state. I don't know if it still applies. But I was a ward of the state, and my auntie simply had guardianship over me. So she took care of me. She was able to enroll me in school and all those things. Hold on. Okay, sorry. The storage was going out on my camera. Where did I leave off? So basically, my auntie got custody of me. Let me check a bullet point, make sure. Yeah, so we went to court and everything, and that started a really big feud between my auntie and my mom, because my mom felt like my auntie was turning me against her or taking me away from her. But it was like, from the beginning, you didn't care for me. You didn't give me the motherly love. You didn't do the things you were supposed to do as a mother. So I was like, she's not taking me away from you. She's just doing what needs to be done, because you're acting like this is not a problem. This does not exist. We could just keep moving forward without this being part of the process. So that just became a big thing. My mom always felt like my auntie took me away from her, you know, and all this stuff, tried to turn me against her. But in reality, my auntie is not that type of person. If you guys know my auntie, you know what type of person she is. Very loving. She doesn't like confrontation either. Very just like, I'm like a little her. Like, honestly, I'm a little her, but she's like super funny. Like, she's hilarious. I'm not that funny. We have a lot of the same like character traits. I just felt like my auntie was always the one that told me, like, regardless of this, you know, try to have a relationship with your mother. My auntie is very big on God. So she'd be like, you know, God forgives you. Forgive. You don't, you know, you don't have to forget, but just try to move past it. Try to find healing in it. Try to find, you know, try to find ways that make you comfortable to communicate with her or be around her, or whatever the case may be. Find whatever is comfortable for you, but I want you to have a relationship with your mother and your father. So, you know, she got custody of me June 3rd, 2013. I remember the date like it was yesterday. She always asks me, like, how do you remember that? But I feel like that was a transition in my life. I can't believe I'm talking about this and not crying. My voice keeps cracking like I want to cry, but I'm absolutely not going to cry on this camera. But I'm really proud of myself, because this is the first time in 10 years I could talk about this and not cry. So I'm really proud of myself. I'm gonna give myself a round of applause, because I'm really happy about this. But so yeah, I was with my auntie 2013. Remind you, I went to go see my mom. I went to go visit my mom one time in Vegas, once. And I never went back. When I got there, it was cool. You know, we was trying to catch up, you know, from lost time. She was trying to learn me. At this point, I'm like 14, 15, something like that. No, I was probably like 14. So, you know, she's trying to learn the new things that I like. And it was like, it's cool. You know, I missed being around my mom. I never held a grudge towards her. I never resented her for none of the things she did. And that's actually crazy to me, because still to this day, I love my mother to death. Regardless of how crazy she is, she might cuss us out, then come back like nothing happened. You know, it's very unhealthy, but I just learned that that's who my mom is. So it's like, either love her for who she is or don't deal with her at all. And I just don't I don't want to not deal with my mom, because that is my mother at the end of the day. Like, my auntie is my auntie. She's my parent. She took care of me my whole teenage life. But I just feel like there's no one in the world that can fill the void of a parent, regardless of how hard they love you, how good they take care of you, how, you know, nothing fills that void of your parents, your biological parents. So I always said that. Me and my auntie, she knows that. I love her. She is my world. But I always tell her, you know, I would love to have a great relationship with my mom. I don't want it to be like how me and your relationship is, because me and you are different from me and her. But I would like us to find a common ground for our relationship. So I went to go visit my mom once, and it was all cool until it wasn't. So her boyfriend was living with her. She was still with her boyfriend. It was still a lot. My mom is very, like, she's an alpha female. That's what I'm gonna say. She's an alpha. So it was just like her mouth was smart, you know, and I guess her boyfriend didn't like something she said. So they started arguing, and they got into a physical fight, like a physical fight. And me, I really grew up with that. Like, I don't even, like, it doesn't affect me anymore. Like, seeing stuff like that, like rowdy and stuff like that, my first instinct is to break it up or get in it. Either one, because that's what we did in our household. You either break it up, or you kind of take a side, or you just get to yelling, like, to make everybody be quiet, or it's just gonna keep going. So I decided to break it up. I attempted to break it up. It was more like pushing and shoving. She was hitting him, and like, he pushed her, I believe. And I was like, don't push my mama. Like, I was a little feisty girl. So I literally remember me like, don't push my mom. And he was like, yeah, I see my head. So what he said wasn't a lie, but why would you say this to a 14-year-old? Like, girl, get your big head ass out of here, or something. He said something like that. Remind you, his head is big, he's bald. Like, come on, because you cannot be talking for real. So I started going up. I don't remember what I said. I think I said something along those lines, like, you're a bald head, how are you gonna say anything about me? Like, and he pushed me, and I like ran into the couch. Like, I fell into the couch. So then my mom started yelling at him, like, don't put your hands on my daughter. It was a bunch of stuff. Me and my mom tried to go in the bathroom and like close ourselves in there. He kept like pushing the door. So I guess we were making so much noise. It was so much commotion that the neighbors called 911. So the police come knocking at the door. And my mom, I remember verbatim, she, we were in the bathroom and we heard the knock on the door, and they were like, you know, police, open up, is everything okay, whatever. So I remember her telling me, you know, don't say anything, act like it didn't happen, just don't say nothing to the police, like, don't say nothing. Excuse me, I don't know if her boyfriend was on probation, parole, I don't know, excuse me, I don't know, but she was just like, don't say anything. And it was just like a, you know, I'm not about to be a snitch, tell the police, oh my God, like he da da da. But it's like, at the end of the day, you have 2 children in there. All this commotion, all this ruckus, all this fighting, it's holes being punched in the wall, I'm being touched, pushed on, whatever. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you're not my father, and I barely even fuck with you like that. So it's like, for you to put your hands on me is insane, like literally insane. But so they got the police out. They was asking me, am I okay? They, you know, whatever the case may be. They end up leaving. When they leave, they start back arguing. So I take it upon myself to go in the bathroom. I call my auntie. Did I call my auntie? I call my auntie or my granny. I called them like, I'm ready to go. Remind you, I only was there for like 5 days, 4 days, 5 days. And in the process of that, my mom was moving to an apartment that was like across the street or something. So I was at the first apartment, stayed there for like 2-3 days. And then we went to the new apartment, and I probably stayed another 2-3 days. And then I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I cannot be here. Just being in that situation just brought back a lot of trauma, a lot of stuff. And the reason why I don't want to be around you, you know. Because at my grandma's house, it was me, my auntie, my granny. It was quiet. It was smooth sailing. Like, nobody argued, nobody. So going back to that was like a trigger. I called one of them and was like, I'm ready to come home. I want to go now. And just thank God that my granny's friend, one of my aunties, was in Vegas for the weekend. She was like, I'm going home today. I will go pick up Deja. You know, just tell me where she is. I'll go pick her up. She came and picked me up within the next 20 minutes. I told my mom. I don't even think my mom knew until she got to the door. And I was like, yeah, Mom, like, I'm leaving. I cannot stay here anymore. So we drove back to LA. You know, my auntie was just making sure I was okay and stuff like that. So it was like, okay, I don't want to be around her right now. I can't, like, it's just too much. It's too much. So it was cool. It was like, okay, you know, you tried, you spent time, you went out there for a little bit. That's good for now. Like, you're okay. Fast forward, my auntie always wants to be, not want to be, but she's always the better person. So she's like, we're gonna try it again. I graduated. I got out of school. This was my sophomore year, 10th grade year. I got out of school. The horn is crazy. I got out of school, and she did not tell me until literally 2 days before that I had a flight to go to Atlanta to visit my mom, because my mom had moved from Vegas to Atlanta. So she's like, yeah, you gotta pack, you got a flight in 2 days. So I'm like, I got a flight, like, where I'm going? We going somewhere? Like, we're going on vacation? Because she would always try to find different ways for, you know, me to do something in the summer. She would take me on a trip every summer, and just, that's something that we did. So I'm thinking that's what it is. No, she's like, you're going to Atlanta to visit your mom, and you're gonna stay for a month. I said, I'm gonna stay for how long? She was like, a month. And then you're gonna come back, and then you're gonna go to your dad's for a month. I was so mad at her, like so mad at her. It did not make no sense, but I knew it was coming from a good place. Like, I understood what she was doing, but I was so mad because I had told her, I don't want to go. I don't like being over there. I don't want to go. But she's like, you know, it's nothing that serious. Like, you're not getting beat, you're not getting, you know, it's not like it's like really unsafe for you to be there. And at this time, my mom and her boyfriend was no longer together. So I was just like, you know, you're right, I could go and still try to build a relationship with my brother at this point, because my brother's like 4 or 5. He's bigger, he talks, he, you know, he's very active. I want to have a relationship with him, but it was hard because we didn't really grow up in a house together. I always grew up as the only child on my mom's side. And then once he was here, when he was a couple months, they moved away. So it was like we never grew up together. He don't really know me. I don't really know him. So I went for the sake of him, honestly. Went to Atlanta. It was cool. It was like, it was like, it was really therapeutic. That was probably the best visit I had with my mom, even though I only visited her twice or 3 times since she was gone in that 5 to 6 year span. But that was by far the best one, just for the simple fact that it was more calm. It was more, you know, and I was older, so it was like, okay, you know, I'm about to be 16 now. This is almost 1.5 years later. And I'm chilling, you know. I'm in the room. It was a 3-bedroom, so I had my own room out there. My brother, my mom, me and my brother was spending a lot of time together. He was all under me, like he loved me like crazy. So I was spending a lot of time with him, but it was just more so like I was bored, you know. I'm a teenager, I'm trying to have fun, so I would go out and meet people. She had friends out there, so I would like be with their daughters and stuff. But it was just, it's just always something that I just be like, I can't be with her for too long. Like it just becomes overwhelming in a sense. So I was supposed to stay for a month. I called my aunt. I went like June 18th, and I was back home by like July 2nd. I was supposed to spend 4th of July out there. I was supposed to do everything, but I ended up coming back early. But when I was out there, it was really great. That's why I love Atlanta to this day, because I met a lot of people. I had some friends out there, you know. I was able to enjoy my time out there. So that wasn't the case. It was just more so, we didn't have too many things planned. We were mainly like in the house or going to her friend's house and stuff like that. So it was just like, okay, I could really do this in LA. So I told my auntie, you know, I want a flight back home. And on the way there, she booked me a one-way. I'm like, were you trying to make me stay in Atlanta? Like, were you like kicking me out? Because what does that mean? But she was like, no, I just didn't know how long you would have wanted to stay. I know you might have wanted to come home earlier, so I didn't book a flight. You know, I was leaving it flexible so that you could choose when you wanted to come back. So I stayed like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, came back home, went to my dad's. That was cool. Got into it with my dad when I moved, because I went to go visit him. He lived around the corner from me, but me and my dad really did not have a real relationship growing up. So it was like both of my parents were like, and then it's like my auntie's taking care of me. Remind you, my auntie is in her 20s this whole time. So it was just hard on her to do everything. So she would try to split up the time between me and my parents, which is completely understandable. But yeah, that's just basically my life and how I grew up, splitting time between parents, grandma, auntie. They say it takes a village. It really does take a village. I was raised in a village, I would say. This is something that used to hurt me a lot. This is something that I always dwelled on, and just, you know, I was just like, my mom doesn't want me, my mom doesn't love me, my mom doesn't da 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 da. And I just simply, I'm starting to learn that God doesn't make mistakes. You know, what was meant to be will be, and if things change and you're not sure why, it's like, just trust God. Because that situation, my auntie getting custody of me, was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. And we all say it as a family. I feel like that was the best thing that ever happened to me. Just for the simple fact that she raised me to be the woman that I am today, with no prior experience, no kids, no nothing. So she stopped her life basically to take care of her teenage niece. And I don't think I could ever repay her for that. That's something that I'm super grateful for. I tell her this every chance I get, and I'm about to cry, so hold on. That's something that I am super grateful for. And you know, I know it's a lot of people out there that go through different things with their parents, some situations worse than mine. So just pray about it. Just, you know, talk to God, see what it is that he wants you to do, and try to just know that you're not alone. You're not the only one that's going through this. It's other people in the world that goes through stuff, if not worse. So just try to find the good in your situation. Go to therapy. Talk to someone that you can trust. Journal. Write down your thoughts. Don't let your thoughts just stay in your head. It will drive you crazy. Okay, it will drive you crazy. But just stay strong. Just know that, you know, when it rains, the sun always comes out. And yeah, that's really all I could say. I just learned to be grateful for my life and my situation, because it's something that I was ashamed of for a long time. You know, having my friends come over, or when I want to do things when I was younger that involved a parent, it was always my auntie showing up, and it was always everyone else's mom showing up. Everybody would be like, well, where's your mom? Like, where's your... And I would have to explain that my auntie has guardianship over me. And people be like, oh, well, your mom. Like, what about your mom? And I'm like, that is my mom. For, like, I don't know what else it is there is that you want me to tell you. Like, that is my mom. So it's like, growing up with stuff like that, I always felt the way. I always felt out of place because I was the only one that didn't have my mom around. But I just learned to appreciate it. Me and my mom are working on our relationship. This was not to bash her at all, because like I said, I love my mom to death. This was simply to tell my story. I wanted this to be therapeutic for me, which it actually really was, because like I said, I'm so surprised I did not cry. And I just wanted to, you know, probably help someone, be able to help someone if they see this and they're going through something similar or went through something similar. I just want you to know you're not alone, and life gets better. It all gets better. But that's all I have for today. I'm gonna stop while I'm ahead, because I will keep talking and eventually start crying. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't look at it as something sad. I don't want you guys to feel sad for me, because I am perfectly fine. I am okay. I just hope you guys enjoyed this story time, and I hope it answered some of the questions that you guys have been having when I would post my aunt and stuff like that. But yeah, I love you guys so much. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video.